My name is Bailey O'Brien. I'm a broadcasting digital media student here at the University of Idaho. I was awarded a grant through the Office of Undergraduate Research last semester for a short film I'm working on. Denise Bennett was supposed to be the management of my funds and be the person I go to get the funds to use. When a student receives a grant, there has to be a student index set up within the program to receive the funds and to track the funds as they're being used. The journalism and mass media department, specifically an administrative assistant, contacted me the day before Denise Bennett was put on administrative leave to get a hold of my grant proposal and my itemized budget, which basically lays out sanctions of the money and a guesstimate of like what they're going to be used on and spent on. So like I had like set design, props, costuming, equipment, like a bunch of stuff like laid out, and how much money I was going to try and allocate to each section. And immediately I was a little confused as to why they needed that information, that specific information. And so I got in contact with Denise and I was like, what do you think of this? Like, I don't know how I feel, because when that happens, when you give them an itemized budget, they strictly hold you to it. And that's kind of hard when it comes to film, because I mean, it's a creative platform. Things happen where you have to think on the fly, you have to get new equipment, you have to get new stuff. Like say, I got a discount on this piece of equipment, and so I had $100 left over in my equipment budget, within my budget, or like the equipment section. And then I wanted to do a set design that would need that extra $100. I basically wouldn't have access to it because I'm not using it for equipment. I was trying to use it for sets. So that's what we were kind of scared of, and that's what we figured they wanted the information for, because that's kind of what happened with Denise's grant, is that they held her to these specific areas, which meant that some money was left over. And basically they wanted to set up the student index for me, which means that I would have to go through the administrative assistant to get the funds, and Denise would just become basically like a project supervisor instead of the management of my funds. She was like, we should probably go talk to the administrative assistant one-on-one, get some clarification, see what's going on, because with what happened with her grant last semester, where she wasn't able to access the full amount of funds to utilize for her project, she was a little nervous that they might try to do the same thing to me. Me being a student, she was like, that's not okay, we need to protect you, we need to like make sure you're getting all that money. So we went to talk to the administrative assistant, and Denise asked flat out, why do you need this information when I'm managing the funds and the grant comes from a completely separate department in the university? It kind of escalated really quickly because the administrative assistant wouldn't fully answer the question, or really wouldn't fully acknowledge the information we were trying to get from her. Denise kind of persisted with the question, just kept asking, like, why do you need this information? What are you trying to do to him? Why are you trying to get your claws into his funds? Like, what's going on? And she did raise her voice. She did get a little angry, but anybody who knows Denise, she's like that 24/7 because she's passionate. And instead of the administrative assistant being willing to talk to us about my grant and why they needed the funds, she legit plugged her ears, sat in her chair, turned towards the wall, and waited for us to leave. Wouldn't even converse with us, wouldn't even communicate with us. So that was kind of crazy, and I guess that had a lot to do with the decision to put Denise on administrative leave. There are other factors, but I do think it was like a catalyst for them taking that action. Afterwards, when she was put on administrative leave, she immediately contacted me and was like, look, with me being gone, your grant funds are going to be managed by the administrative assistant, by the JAM department. And I immediately felt uncomfortable with that, and I don't have a lot of trust within the administration or the dean of class or any of that who would be directly tied with my funds. So I immediately got in contact with Lisa Salisbury at the Women's Center here on campus to reallocate the management of my funds to the Women's Center. So just so that I could have a safe and comfortable space where I wasn't going to be hindered in any way, and I know that I could like focus on the creative project I'm trying to use the money for. And actually afterwards, when I started trying to get it moved over, I specifically asked David Pfeiffer, the director of Office of Undergraduate Research, like what the itemized budget means when it comes to actually production time. And he said that as long as there's records of everything you bought and it is specifically for the short film, you're allowed to use your budget for whatever, but it has to pertain to the project. That was just another red flag to be like, I have to get my funds out of the JAM administration's hands. So.